Hello, this is Katie. Welcome back to my channel. This is going to be my first Halloween card in my Halloween card series. Hopefully I get a good amount of these in. This video is going to be sped up 3 times as fast because it's very long. I'm just showing you the pieces of the card. I have a black card base and I've prepped a lot of things, but I've, just to save some time of basic stamping and die cutting and things. I have 4 corner spider webs from the Lawn Fawn. I show it to you later because I have it on a magnetic sheet with other dies, but it's the spider web and the spider and then the drop down web die set. And then I cut out a stitched rectangle from white that I will be working with later on. And that is just my Lil Inker Designs stitched rectangle set. And then, this card is completely inspired by a card that Audrey Tokach, I don't know if I'm saying her last name right because I've never heard it out loud, she made for Lawn Fawn. So I will probably tag her in Instagram over there because I was not feeling original tonight. I am very tired, but I wanted to do a video. So I am sticking these down with probably the worst glue I could use for this because it's going to dry glossy, and I use just enough to have it squeeze out in certain spaces. And this glue also dries very fast, so it's going to dry and it's just going to be glossy. But that's fine. This is what handmade is. Otherwise, I would probably maybe use Tombow Mono liquid glue next time on something this intricate that was going to be like black on black. If it were on white, it wouldn't look so shiny, but since it's just matte black, it's going to show up. So I'm showing you the corners there. So those are just stuck down right to the card base, and then I'm going to be using Mermaid Lagoon and Wilted Violet, just these two mixed. I didn't want to get too crazy. These are Distress Oxide, so I'm going to be using water on it to have it react and kind of lift up those spots. My Distress Oxide by Distress Ink bin, where I keep all my Distress inks in these little smooshers. I'm just spraying water from a sprayer here and flicking it on there. The box where I keep all of that smells awful and it gives me a headache. I don't know if it's just me. I'm using my special Halloween paper towel that I bought at the store to soak that up. I just wanted to show you my Halloween paper towel. These are acrylic paints. I'm going to be using white and black and then adding some water and mixing it with a paintbrush and flicking that onto the background. Anyway, my Distress ink box gives me a headache, so I have to like hold my breath when I open it, and I could only bear to have it open long enough to grab 2 inks and 2 ink smushers handles. So you get 2 colors today on this card. And her background is kind of like a bluey purple. I'm pretty sure it was different colors, but this is what worked. A good section of the blue is going to be covered up. Anyway, by like the black hillside that I'm going to add. So here I'm just drying the acrylic paint. I've noticed that when I dry the white acrylic paint on the oxide, it takes the color of a lighter version of the oxide, just like the water does. So all my white splatters basically turned light purple and the black stays black. The white is just absorbing the color. Acrylic, I don't know, is acrylic paint water-based? I don't know anything about paint, so maybe that's why. I saved you the time of me bending down to my die cutter, but I cut out a black rectangle and then used one of my Lawn Fawn hillsides to cut off of that so that at least these edges would match up, the stitched edges, but then I could get a hillside out of it as well. So this piece is going to be lifted up on foam. So I'm using my wide foam tape. My most recent roll was the wider version of the same thing because it was basically saving a lot of money to buy the wide one instead of the other one I used to have, which was about as wide as that last strip there that I cut it down to. So that stuff is expensive, and I know I'm gonna have to buy another roll again soon, and it's just gonna hurt because it's expensive. So next I'm going to show you the coloring. I wanted to show you this part in detail and close up so that that's why I skipped the stamping and die cutting. I knew I was already going to have to speed this up. So hopefully you prefer seeing coloring and which colors I'm using over me stamping and die cutting these images. So I did that off camera. I've learned that to do videos, it's just better to prep the items and just be ready. I have to have everything near me. I used to not do that, and then I would just drive myself crazy. So now I can spend more time on camera doing things you probably would rather see. And lately I've been doing these as voiceovers instead, so that I can just craft and not have to worry about talking to you at the same time or stressing out about talking to you and having it take forever because I need to speed it up and then do a voiceover. So I am mixing Copics and my Spectrum Noirs. I love both of these. My Copics and my Spectrums are probably the greatest combination together. I do feel that Copic has a better of a color range. I don't know how to say that. But basically the colors are, I don't know, I want to say more vibrant. There are a lot of dull shades in the Spectrum Noirs, but I still do like the markers a lot. For the price point, they are very, very good alcohol markers. The tips kind of vary. Every once in a while, you'll get like a pointier tip than others, and some other colors will be like softer and squishier. So the amount of detail you're able to do really depends on the randomness of the marker. So there's that. This one is out of view. So sorry. I was trying to keep an eye on where I was setting the lid. The first one was just LG3 and this is LG2. I don't think this house ended up blending out super well. I probably should have taken LG2, the marker, and like dabbed it onto LG3 and then colored a little bit to mix it, get kind of an in-between color. So I did not blend out that first house very well. This DG1 and DG2, I should say DG2 and DG1, is a good, very like mucky Halloween green. And then I just used yellow. I wasn't going to shade this because the areas are so small, for the inside of the windows and the moon. And then I'm just using C1. This is generally how I do something that needs kind of a gray hint. I'll just line it with C1, and then I will take my brand new zero marker. I haven't bought a new zero marker in 10 years, and it is juicy, and it gets the job done. And so I just bought a new one a couple weeks ago, because I'm always going to Michael's or wherever, and I look at my color chart and I fill in the colors. But I noticed my zero just didn't have the power it used to, and I knew it could be better than that. So I just bought a new one. And I'm sure there's a refill. I'm sure someone would tell you could just use straight rubbing alcohol for zero, but I know it's got to be better than that. So there's probably a refill. I just don't own one. I own like 5 refills at this point. So I just bought a new one because Michael's is having a deal, and it's working very well. So I originally used E39, which is lighter than E29, and I was going to use that as the darker shade, but then I realized I wanted to do E29 as the dark shaded part of the door to make it a little bit darker. And then E39 blended out again for the lighter shade. And then here I am just placing the house so I know where to put the fences. So I'm going to be gluing down the fences first. And then the other one I kind of have some trouble with because I'm not left-handed, and I try to do it upside down. It just doesn't work out very well. I probably needed like 2 pairs of tweezers, but it's fine. I think I just smooshed it around, and that was good enough for me. And then I'm just going to glue the house straight down. It does have a little bump on the hillside part, but it glues down just fine. So I didn't want to add too much dimension since I already had the one layer that this whole panel is on. And then I just place the mooning cloud and the other 2 clouds around. In the sky. And then this is when I do my white accents on the house and wherever else I want them. I try not to do too many. I know it starts to look goofy after a while. I added some to the moon. I don't know why. So though that part's done. So now I'm going to work on the Happy Halloween sentiment. So I just place it on the block, and I'll show you what I do to kind of size a strip. I hold the sentiment on the block over the strip until I get it to the right size, and then I cut it. So I know that the sentiment will look good rather than trying to just measure a strip. And I don't know, it's probably silly, but I use the sentiment to like measure how much paper or how wide I want it to be. And then I am just using my Versamark clear ink for embossing, some white embossing powder. I've had my embossing powders for years. I think it's a Judykins brand. And then I use embossing powder maybe once every 2 months, and there is just a stupid amount of embossing powder that got all over the table, and I have no idea how. I don't know what happened. But anyway, I melt this super fast forward speed. And then what I do is I use a 1-inch punch. You've probably seen this in other videos if you have watched other videos of mine, to kind of upside down from the backside of the punch cut a banner. You just hold it at the right triangle point, and it just works wonders for banners rather than trying to cut with your scissors. It's just one easy punch. I keep it around for that. This video is going to end very quickly. I'm so sorry. I will see you in the next one, and that is the card. Thank you, Audrey, for the idea.